Uh, I have a question for you. What made you like start a channel around, I guess, ETD? Because when I look it up on YouTube, or when I was looking it up on YouTube, I didn't see too many people like, well, no, I saw like doctors talking about it, but they always said the same thing. They always said nasal spray. They always said the I think it's called the Valsalva maneuver, where you like plug your nose
Yep.
and blow. It's just stuff that I've
Yep.
heard for years, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
something's not right, because this doesn't feel like what I typically go through when I get a cold or something. So to
Right.
see your video, in the first video I saw of yours, it was kind of long. I think it was around 27 to 30 minutes, but you basically, I think you had a box of all the things that you kept during your
Yep.
time with ETD. And I was just
Yep.
like, this guy is one for one saying exactly what I've gone through. I can't believe
Yep.
it, because I swore I was like the only person on the planet that was going through this kind of ETD. So, like, what made you decide to make a whole channel around it?
Well, I did one video, seriously, just one about uh, what I was going through. It was kind of similar to what you did. I just
Mm-hmm.
did one video, talked about what I'm going through. I was like, you know what? I have to be faithful to my potential audience, which is still very small, but I was like, I got to just tell them what I'm going through. I can't talk wellness and be over here struggling with my ears, you know? So I
Yeah.
feel like I should just do one video and talk about what I'm going through. I kid you not. I kept trying to talk about other things. I was talking about, diet and the best type of stretching, the best type of food to eat. And I kept getting a lot of feedback on that one video that I had already posted and left. I had left it alone pretty much. And I said, wait a minute. I went back. I responded to some comments, and then I said, okay, I'm gonna move on. Okay, and the benefits of how to take the benefits of eating fruit and how does that help you, and
Mm-hmm.
and then I kept getting more feedback on that video, and I was like, wait a minute, okay, there's actually a problem here. There are people here needing help with this, seriously. And so the more I thought about it, I said, I want to live my purpose, and my purpose is to help others, really. And so I started to kind of weigh things out and say, you know what? I got a lot of emails. I was getting like 5 or 6 emails every, few hours or so at a time. And
Yeah.
so it kind of just made my mind up for me, really. That's where the help is needed. So that's kind
Nice.
of, long story short, really how it all came to be.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I mean, whew, it paid off. It worked out. Like, I appreciate that, because uh going through my whole episode, right, started in January, but if we can like rewind a bit, in 2016 I was sick. It was like I had a cold, whatever. And I was flying a lot, because being like a professional player, you're always traveling around trying to like compete and do what you do. So I was
Yeah.
flying a lot, and I was super excited to go. I was going to Tennessee, I think, to like help with what's called kids like in a hospital, St. Jude Hospital, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But and I had asked, like, I have a cold, is it still okay, blah blah blah, and I got the green
Yeah.
light. And so I fly, and I notice like something doesn't feel right when the plane is ascending. The plane is
Yeah.
ascending, and my right ear literally, like, I can remember it like it was yesterday. It closed shut completely, something I never experienced before. And I thought,
Yeah.
okay, let me swallow so I can open it, or let me do the Valsalva maneuver so I can open it.
Yep.
It would not open. And I'm just like, oh
Yep.
my God, I can't hear out of my right. I can hear out of my left. And I'm
Terrible.
starting to like panic on the plane. To be real, I
Yep.
don't know how I didn't have a full fledged panic attack back then, honestly, because it
Yeah.
was that bad. I remember some guy looking at me though, while as I was like desperately trying to open my ear again. Just like, mind your business, dog. And
Yeah.
uh, I didn't succeed. We land, but I noticed that, okay, we're on the ground now, and I thought my ear might
Yeah.
open then. I was so naive and young. Oh man. But it didn't
Yeah.
open. And it stayed like that for, I want to say, 2 3 weeks. Yeah. It's so bad to the point where I was like, okay, I can't fly home. So in fact, a fan actually drove all the way out to Tennessee, got me, and brought me all the way to North Carolina to be with my family that was
Whoa.
there. So I was just like, yo, man. All right,
Oh.
cool. I'm there. My grandmother takes me to the hospital. They look into my ear. I have an ear infection. Everything's all messed up. They give me
Yep.
antibiotics. Some time passes. It opens again. But then I notice that I'm now, I want to say, sensitive to elevation, even a little bit of
Yep.
elevation.
Yep.
And it was sensitive to the point where I could feel my ear needing to pop, even on like the road. But I could pop it, it's fine. But then I
Yeah.
noticed that now when I get colds, that ear closes immediately. It's always the right ear, never the left. It
Yeah.
closes shut.
Yeah. Mine was the.
And I'm
Yeah.
just like, damn, like this never used to happen before. It's so uncomfortable. And after a while, like it still scares me when it happens, but you kind of learn to live with it and expect it when it does happen. But all it's done now is kind of make me low key like a hypochondriac with like colds because
Yeah.
I don't want to catch a cold. One, I don't want to catch a cold. It sucks. And two, I don't want my ear to close. So now if we
Yep.
fast forward to now, there's so many things I've missed out in terms of like flying places, flights, etc. Because when I get a cold, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not flying.
Yep.
Sorry guys, see ya. But in January, or actually November of 2022, I was supposed to go to Japan for the third time. Not even the second, but this trip was special because I was bringing my girl along and she's never been to Japan. And you know, we're both excited, everything's cool, but I noticed that something's wrong with my ear, right? And so
Yeah.
when it's time to go home so I could go to my flight, I noticed like on the road, because you got to go through mountains to get to this airport, my ear felt funny, but it wasn't recovering, right?
Ah.
And then I get on a plane, I make it through the first flight, but my ear still feels funny. Then the second flight, my ear feels worse. Then I land in LA, and you know LA has hills, it sucks. So
Tons.
I'm driving from Lax to where I live, and I think all of that just totaled my right ear. And when I got home, I was like, okay, if I go to sleep, I'll probably wake up and feel better. Did not happen at all. It did not happen. So I basically was like, okay, I guess I have to go to the doctor. And go to the doctor. What do you think is the first thing they gave me?
I already know.
Flonase.
Oh gosh.
They gave me Flonase. They gave me nasal spray.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, take the nasal spray. It's not doing anything. I'm just going to be real. It wasn't doing anything. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
all right, so what do I do? Then I get cold. I get a cold, and it just makes everything worse. So now I have to wait for the cold to end, and I can't travel for Christmas now because now it's December. So I miss Christmas. I'm at home alone. It's like, well, damn. January rolls around of this year, and I had to reschedule this flight to Japan maybe 3 times because of this. But I just thought like, okay, like it's whatever. Like this will go away, right? So the cold goes away. My ears actually go back to normal. Cool. At least so I thought. But I'm like, you know what? I just recovered. I don't want to fly. There's this big tournament happening in Northern California. I could take a bus. I take the bus, face some elevation, of course, going from SoCal to NorCal, but it's whatever, you know? I get there. I'm okay. I'm leaving and I'm okay. But this is where things take a turn for the worse. 2 days after I get home from that tournament, and I had a great time. I went to go see one of my best friends because he lives nearby, and we're riding to his house, and I noticed like, oh my god, like both of my ears are just plugged,
Oh.
and like this is not normal. The left, nothing ever happens to the left ear; it's always the right. And when we left his house and I got home, it got worse, and this is the start of the chronic ETD that has plagued me this entire year because damn, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go anywhere. I'm just stalling this thing out in the early stages because I don't know what this is, right? Like I have no idea what this is. So I'm just like, okay, I'm going to go back to normal probably in a week, 2 weeks, nothing. It actually just keeps getting worse. I start taking Zyrtec D, Claritin. I'm seeing doctors all the time because like I want relief. I need help. But no doctor can help me. They think they're helping, but they're not. It starts to develop into tension too in the back of my neck, the back of my head. And I'm just like, yo, like I never felt these symptoms with this before either. Oh, that's my alarm. So I got a CAT scan. My brain, everything looked normal, right? They gave me what? Muscle relaxers. They gave me headache medication when I was like, yo, I told them the emergency room, like, I'm not in pain. They still gave me ibuprofen. I had a hearing test because I was so self-conscious of my hearing. Like, yo, my hearing's, I think my hearing's not the same anymore. I think it's low. I think I'm losing. I was afraid of waking up and going deaf. It was that bad. So I'm just like, something needs to happen. And basically I'm just going through the days, and it starts to, I don't know. The sad part is it starts to get worse and worse mentally, because I feel like I can't leave my house. I can't go down the road. I can't travel nowhere. So I'm missing tournaments. I'm missing events. I'm missing birthdays. I miss Japan again. Everything. And my audience, I know they notice, like, okay, he's not streaming as much. He's not that active in the Discord. Like, it just kind of sucks because, one, I don't really want to talk about it because I feel like people are going to think I'm crazy. I'm making it up. I'm bullshit. My girl is here out of the country, and it's just like, imagine not being able, you're married, right? Yeah. Imagine not being able to see your wife for more than half a year. You can't.
That is.
So
you can't. Yeah.
It's just like, bam, this is weighing on me mentally, and I'm a very extroverted person, so this is just opposite to my nature. And I can't get any relief. None of the medicine they all say the same thing. It got to a point where, you know, I went back to this doctor, and I remember this because she aggressively just straight up told me, we can't help you. There's no reason for you to keep coming back here. Just go home and tough it out. And I'm just like, oh gosh, okay. Wow.
Tough it out.
Yeah, just go home and tough it out. I was like, oh, nice. So this is what we pay for. This is what we pay our beloved medical system for. That's awesome. Right.
That's the biggest thing right there. Is like, it's funny. Like, you probably expected that this might happen. I'm not a medical professional. Everybody knows that. I say that a lot on my channel.
Yeah.
Because you see, like you said, you research, you see a lot of doctors on there. You know, they're holding their hands up like this, or you know, on the thumbnail, and it's like, you know, I feel like the first thing you would think is to go where you see a doctor or MD after a name or something on YouTube. When you search that condition, you see you're going through, and you're like, oh, MD, let me click and see. I'm gonna tell you right now, that's what I don't want. Like, I tell my subscribers or my viewers or whoever, I say, look, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not giving you the doctor's perspective. And evidently, the doctor's perspective might not be doing you any good anyways. And so I give you a personal perspective, and a perspective that's beyond just the normal, because they're thinking from their doctor mentality, you know, that medical mentality. Nasal spray, go get a prescription. I'm talking to you from, like, I'm your friend, like, look, you're going to have these issues come up. You're going to have the mental aspect come up. You're going to have all these things. I'm going to be honest with you. The mental aspect beat me up more than any clogging or any
I
of
agree
that.
with you.
Like, it was just and you can probably attest to that.
Yeah.
And that is what is not being talked about more than nasal sprays. And I have some videos where I do, you know, a little stretching and things, but let's be honest. People are struggling on the mental aspect of this whole thing. It's not even, people can live with this. That's not, you know, that's not the question. You can live with this, but it's the mental side of things that it's impacting. And to kind of go back to your question about why I started kind of made this my whole channel is because evidently, I mean, a lot of what I see out there is just people struggling mentally. I can't tell you, man, how many times, and this is hard to say this too, but I've gotten so many messages of people on suicide watch. Seriously.
No, I'm not surprised at all.
You're not. Oh my God. I have to take it like very, obviously very strategically too with that kind of stuff. You can't just, you know, I have to first say, okay, here's the number, but then I'm going to talk to you. You know, let me say, here's the number, but let me talk to you too. Okay. I need to talk to you, but here's the phone number, but let me tell you what I did. I don't want you to think I'm diagnosing you either. So it's a very thin line. It's a very tough subject. Some ask, well, why don't you do a YouTube channel that's fun, you know? And I say, well, you know, that's a good point, but there's a need here. You know, there's a need for me here, my own purpose. I feel that's needed here. And that's why a lot of times people are like, why is this guy talking about the same thing over? Why is he talking about this stuff? Don't you want to talk about something more fun, more exciting, or more entertainment, more comedy or something? And I'm like, those things are good too, but there is definitely a need here. And so what you're talking about is exactly what I went through for 3 years. And during those 3 years, having two children, well, my second child wasn't quite born, but I had a child during that year, during a couple of those years, and a new job and a new home. So it was, I have to say, man, it was, it was challenging for sure. And I can definitely, definitely empathize with what you're going through, right? With that, with the trips and your passions and things. Yeah, it robs you of that.
3 years. Damn. Yeah, I remember you saying 3 years. It's only been like 8, so almost a year for me, but
that's still a long time.
Damn.
That's still a long time.
Yes, it is a long time, man. I can tell you, bro, like there were times, I hate to kind of admit this, but I will admit this. There were times where I just sit at my chair and I'm just thinking to myself, like am I cursed? Like what happened? Like I don't understand. Sometimes I would just be crying at my desk,
Oh yeah.
Nobody knows, because I mean, like being a guy, like you're taught not to cry in front of people, or boys don't cry, men don't cry, et cetera, et cetera. So you kind of just suffer in silence, right? So sometimes I just be sitting at my desk, just like crying, just unprovoked. I don't even know why it's happening, but it's definitely like the stress, right? And so there were so many like things that happened this year that I really wanted to be a part of. I won this big tournament called Evo last year. I wanted to go this year, couldn't go because of this. There are games that came out that I really wanted to play, wanted to stream, and I had to kind of force myself to get through it. Yeah. And this thing has like different phases, I feel, because sometimes it gets better, but then it gets worse. And then when it gets better, you're like, okay, I'm on the up, but then it goes down again. And it's like a whole roller coaster. I'm just saying here, like, bro, when is the consistent relief? I need the consistent relief, please. Yes. So May comes along, and I got invited to this event. I really like Street Fighter 6. It's a brand new game coming out. I'm very excited for it. And Capcom invites me to the launch party for the game. And I'm just like, oh, yes, I got to get to this. And I was afraid because it was far away. Well, far away. I'm gonna do this because it's not really that far away, but for me going through what I'm going through, it's far away. And I have never went on a trip like that with the ETD happening, but I decided to go. I can't miss this, right? I go to my little medication kit, and it's just vitamins, really. I got the vitamins stacked up. I'm like, all right, I got to take this every day. I was taking what's the name of this plant? I go watch. I don't know. It's something for stress.
Ashwagandha?
Thank you. Yes. So I was taking ashwagandha, and I go, and I made it, and I was very surprised that I made it. I honestly couldn't believe that I made it. And I go in, I have a good time, I go home, and I'm okay. And I'm just like, okay, this is a big confidence booster that I needed. And it feels so embarrassing because something as simple as going down the street shouldn't really be this much of an achievement. I do this all the time. Like, I don't get it. But I was really proud of myself. And I had a good friend. His name is Isaac. I had a very good friend, and he lived nearby, and he was practically the only person I felt, I want to say 100% confident or comfortable seeing me the way I was through this entire thing. And I feel like a lot of the times he went out of his way to help me out. It, like, honestly, probably the nicest person I've ever met. And he would make sure, like, if I needed something, he would go pick it up. If I wanted him to come over just to talk, he would be there. Like, it was dope. And I had a ton of people, like, in my corner, right? And the sad part is, even with him, the people online, my girl, you still feel alone. Like,
you do.
You still feel like you're by yourself. So my days usually went with wake up, shower, brush your teeth, take your vitamins and stuff, take your nasal spray, and do your work. So I would work, And I would focus a lot on work where I didn't need to be hearing as much, or I didn't need to be talking as much, because again, my ear was bothering me so much that like I was sensitive to sound at this point, right?
Yeah.
There's a video specifically where you talked about, I guess, the mental aspect of it all, right? And I couldn't tell if this was all in my head or not, because to me, it's just like, okay, why would my brain self-sabotage itself or self-sabotage the body and make me think something is there that might not actually exist?
Right.
And all through this whole time, I'm on a countdown. I'm on like a clock, because I have to travel before October. I have a very important event coming up. I have to travel before October. I have to get here before October. So the stress of that, knowing like, okay, I have to get to this place. Like at some point I'm going to have to fly, because taking a bus is just not really an option. But it was something I thought about, but it's not really an option, right? And so I'm just thinking, what am I going to do? I've already lost like so much time and money. I lost so much money because of this thing. Like, I'm never getting that money back.
I joined on that one. I wish I had kept all my EOBs, my explanation of benefits and all my receipts. And I don't even have access to my old medical portal. But if you saw it, I'm going to actually try to see. That would be a good video to do. Show people my portal. I mean, I could show people where literally in a timeline kind of way, like why and how much I was going in, just so people don't think, hey, he had an issue, got over it, now he's going to talk about it. No, I want to show you. Nobody's going to talk about this if they really didn't have a problem. Trust me. And so, I mean, I would love to pull that up just to show everybody how many times. I mean, I was becoming like a staff member at these urgent cares.
Pretty much,
I was going in and people were like, hey, how you doing today? Well, obviously not so good. I'm here, I was starting to it was getting a little embarrassing. I'm not gonna lie. Like people started to greet me by name. It was like, oh man, something is bad when you walk in. It's not a hospital either. It's not like I'm going in for dialysis or anything. I'm going into an urgent care. Yeah, I'm walking in and they're like, hey, Jameson, how you doing? I'm like, oh man, that's not looking good. And then I would rotate. I was like, all right, I'm gonna stop going there.
I'm gonna go to this other one where they don't know.
I'm gonna go to this other one, so that way it doesn't become like too monotonous. Like, oh, he's just having a little, mental lapse, and he doesn't need much. I want to go somewhere fresh, so you think there really is something wrong with me. And so, it was awful. I like you said, just to kind of allude to the loss of things, money, time. I mean, I can't tell you, I was going during my lunch break.
Yep.
You did better than me. I mean, you right now you're doing better than me. Like bringing it to the forefront, actually helps the mind. It actually helps the growth and healing. When you start to think that you start to just do things like it doesn't exist around others and around people, you kind of suffer in silence. And I always tell people, don't walk around and tell everybody you see, but have a little network. Have a little network of people. And you've been blessed to have a good audience that can kind of sympathize and at least understand that you're going through something.
Very lucky.
I was like, and I was like, well, I'll be like, I'm going to tell, obviously I have to tell my wife, she lives with me. That's it. I'm going to leave it right there. I'm going to tell my parents, tell my wife, and everybody else. They're just going to assume I'm okay all the time. And I'm going to be honest. I think my 3 years attributed to the fact that I didn't come out to the forefront with it. And I'll be honest, I'll be the first to say, I think that had a lot to do with the longevity of me dealing with it, is thinking I needed to suffer with only 3 people by my side. And I would go to work and have a little episode and tell people, I'm just going to the restroom. I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even show up. Like so there was a lot of things that I could have done better, healing wise. And I think you're doing a lot better than I ever was, because I didn't come online and talk about it and do things about it. I wasn't proactive. I just thought everybody thought I had allergy problems.
That too. Yep.
You know what I mean? Yep. They all just say, "Oh, you just have allergies." I was like, "No."
I've never had allergies in my life.
See?
Yeah, it was so bad. The doctors were like, "So you might be allergic to your cat." I'm not getting rid of my cat. I've never been allergic to cats in my life. I'm not getting rid of my cat. I didn't believe it.
Yeah. No, forget that. And that was a perfect intro too. As soon as you said that, the cat jumped up. But yeah, it was weird because I actually started telling people that so they wouldn't think, because you tell people I have ETD or I have, Eustachian Tube Dysfunction.
They don't know what it is.
They don't know what it is. So then you got to go into your life story to just explain what it is. But if you tell
Exactly.
someone I have allergies, the door closes right there. I can move on with my life.
You sound just like me.
See what I'm saying?
I would tell them literally, yo, all right, think like you're traveling on a plane or you're underwater, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, it's always like that. Your ears are always messed up. There you go. That's what it is.
Always. And I got to the habit where I believe a lot about the attraction of the mind listening to the words. And I believe in that. I believe in healing comes from a lot of different sources, not just taking something. And so I was telling myself that I had allergies through other people. You know, instead of being like you and just kind of coming out and saying, look, I have this condition. This is what it's doing to me. This is how it's impacting me, and really owning it and trying to heal from it. I was telling everybody that saw me going, they were like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just have allergies." I was doing that all year round. If people were paying attention, they'd be like, "This man has allergies from 12 months out of the year." And I was literally just, it was awful. It was really one of those things.
Yeah.
So, well, you're doing the right thing.
Thank you.
To be honest with you.
Basically, I did the MRI. We're good. Watched your videos. Yeah. Then I emailed you. I'm like, let me email this guy. I got nothing to lose. Honestly, I have nothing to lose. I didn't know if you're going to respond or not, but I basically just wanted to email you everything that was happening, what's been going on. And once you responded, I was like, okay, I can actually have a conversation with someone that will understand what's going on, because you can only tell the people you love so much what's going on. But at the end of the day, if they're not feeling this, they don't get it at all. And you just look crazy. And I was tired of looking crazy. So I messaged and you responded. And I want to say the most impactful message I had got from you was the one where you were basically kind of illustrating how the flight's going to go. You were kind of trying to break it down like it's a matter of the mind and everything, right?
Yes.
And admittedly, like, your responses made me feel reassured, which is something the doctors just couldn't do for me. And at that point, I was like, well, I'm not strong enough to beat this by myself. I know this. So let me go ahead and message a friend to see if they'd be willing to fly with me, right? Because I rescheduled the flight here probably like 6 times, maybe not more, maybe if not more. I think I burnt like maybe $3,000 to $5,000, probably a little bit more on this whole thing. Yeah, it kind of sucks, but I didn't want to go on the plane, have a severe reaction, go deaf, eardrum rupture, the worst things that could possibly happen, right? So absolutely, I just needed like a friend that was and I needed something that was going to lock me in. Like, I have to go back. Like, I needed to create a situation where I have to fly. There's no way you can avoid this. You have to get on that plane. So I call up a friend. They come. And, as a reward for coming, I decide, look, I know that it's hard for you to even come here. They're from Mexico. I know it's hard for you to even come here. So, like, want to go to Disneyland? They love Disney. So it was a win-win, right? So I take them all around SoCal. And funny enough, 2 days before they had arrived to California, I was going through it. Like, it was probably the worst. I don't know. I always felt like my body, whenever I tried to make good progress, my body would just like slam a iron over my head or something. And like, it's almost like it's trying to like suffocate you back down to that low that you were at before. So I'm just like, all right, nah, I got to keep pushing. Got to keep pushing. So they come and I take them around, I show them all like these good places to eat. It's cool, right? Because it's not allowing me to have a bunch of time to even think about the ETD. So I noticed that the ETD kind of took a backseat, and there were points where I just didn't notice it that much anymore. And I noticed, I don't know, it's like I had to face this, right? So going to Disneyland is going the similar route where this all started when I went to go visit a friend. And I noticed that that route just has a lot of elevation. And it kind of messes with me, you know? And so even going to Disneyland, just going there, immediately I felt it, right? But see, I thought since I was already feeling things that my ears would close or something. They did not close. But we get to Disneyland, and I think within like the first 2 to 3 hours of Disneyland, I was just suffering. Like it was hot. My ETD was like really messing up badly. And I told my friend, look, if something happens to me here, I want you to just straight up ignore me. And I want you to go have the time of your life. I want you to get on every ride. I want you to do everything. I was planning to just go like sit in this little place at the entrance of the park, had like cool air and stuff, and just sit. Yeah. But I like amusement parks. I like roller coasters. I wanted to be a part of the experience. So I basically just toughened up and just kept going through it. But I can't say I toughened up too much, because the first roller coaster that we got to, I was just like, I want to get on this, but what if something bad happens to me, right? It's always that what if. And so I told them, look, I can't get on this. You get on it. I'll be at the bottom. So as they go to get on and they're leaving, I don't know what happened. Something just came over me. I just started walking forward. I swear to God, I'm not trying to make this sound like a movie, but I just start going forward, and I start walking up the ramp to catch up with them. And I basically told them, hey, if something happens to me after this ride, can you at least make sure I get with medical professionals or something? And it's the weekend, so you know Disney is packed. And I get on the ride, and it's about to take off, and I noticed that I felt the same way I did before I got on the ride. Nothing happened. I just felt the same. Then I'm thinking, wow. So the elevation of the roller coaster did nothing. Okay. Let's keep going. So I get on more rides and stuff, not roller coasters. These are more easy rides. But towards the end of the day, I notice I don't really feel anything right now. Okay. Yeah. So I get on the biggest roller coaster in the park, and I'm like, normally I would have been so excited to do this. All I can feel is fear right now. But they reassure me like, look, you got on the first one, right? Let's try this one. All right, I'll do this. I'll do this. I get on it. Best roller coaster ever. I had such a great time. I had such a great time. And I'm just thinking like, wow, okay, hold on. Like, I was able to experience this park as I would have normally before all this happened. And towards the end of the day, right, it was such a good time. They were able to experience so much, bought a lot of stuff. It was great. Go home, you know, that route still kind of sucks for the ears, but whatever. I took it, got home. It is what it is. But I noticed after that day, the ETD started to just go down more and more and more. Oh, yeah. And as I entertained myself with my friend and we just did more things, it was almost like it had never happened. And I didn't even realize that it was gone in the first place. I was just living normally. I forgot what normal felt like. So here comes the big day for the flight. You were made aware of this, how many days away it was. And the entire time I'm super nervous. However, I need to go because I had 5 big suitcases. So this costs a lot of money. 5 big suitcases. I had to bring my cat. And, you know, I had to make sure, too, that my friend made it back with no problems. So I was literally in a situation where I was deadlocked into doing this. Like, there was no going back. If something bad was going to happen on that plane, it was just going to happen. And I felt like I needed to be strong for my cat because cats don't really, most cats in my opinion, probably don't do well traveling like that, especially like he doesn't know what's going on. There's so many people. It's loud. Like he was admittedly very stressed. He was not happy. And so I'm like, listen, I don't care what happens to me at this point. I need to make sure my cat is okay.
Exactly.
So I check in my bags, everything. I'm locked in. That's it. Like I am going. And I'm sitting at the gate just waiting and waiting to go. And the entire time I'm just like, I'm so nervous that my hand is shaking. This doesn't happen to me at all. But my hand is just shaking. I'm like nervous. Yep. We finally get on the plane. We sit on the plane. The plane departs from the gate. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, if something does happen, I would hope that, I don't know, anybody that I've ever like had good times with or anything like remembers me. It was like some tragic shit. Man, like So the
That's what it
plane
does.
ascends, it starts its ascension, and I remember, like, bro, just keep in mind, like, you've been on practically at least over 100 flights during this time, like, of your life.
Wow.
I've traveled a lot. I've been to a lot of places, and
Wow.
the I remember you said lightning doesn't strike twice in the same spot,
Yep.
and it just reminded me, like, yo, that one really bad time that you're so
Yep.
afraid of only happened one time out of all the times you've
Yes.
flown. So the probability of that happening again has to be low no matter what you're feeling right now.
There it is.
And as I got into the air, damn, man, I didn't feel anything. It was
Yep.
almost as if it never happened ever.
Yep.
And I remember I was just like, I got like emotional in silence, of course, because there's like mad random people around. I don't want them to see me, but I'm kind of like wiping my face, like, oh man, because like I'm like kind of shit. I think the last time I actually genuinely shed tears for something that wasn't this was like a character getting into Smash that I really wanted. And so I was just like, damn, man, like I can't believe it. Like I'm actually going, I've
Yeah.
wanted to leave for so long. I'm actually going. This is actually happening. I was actually able to get on the plane and do this. And even like during the descent, it just felt normal. And then when I
Yeah.
finally got here, it's as if it's gone. Like
Wow.
there are only
That's
very
crazy.
rare moments while I'm here now where I'll feel something, and if I do, it's very, very minimal. It is
Yeah.
almost like it didn't exist. And what that tells me, at least I think, is that at the end of the day, it was mostly just a mental thing the entire time.
You
And
just said
mm,
exactly what I was gonna say.
no medicine, well, no nasal spray or no Zyrtec D or a decongestant.
Yes.
No. And I will admit though, before I took the flight, I took a decongestant. I sprayed my nose with Afrin,
Yeah.
and I used earplugs, right?
Yes.
And so maybe that could have helped. Maybe I won't really
Yeah.
know, but what I do know is that here I am on the ground where it should still be happening, and I'm not using
Yes.
nasal sprays, earplanes, or anything now, and it's just gone.
Right.
So I think it was a
Yep.
mental thing all this time.
It was, and you did a lot of the prep work to kind of help saturate the negative thoughts too that can come in and come out. Like I always tell people, it's not that I'm knocking all those things. It's just that those things aid you in the mental aspect, so that way your mind can then go take over. Because it's
Yeah,
almost like, you know what I mean? It's like you get on a you get in a car to go take a road trip. You got there safe because you got there safe. You were driving the car. Yes, it helps to have good tires. It helps to have lots of gas to fill up your car. Helps to have all the specs checked, right? It's good
yeah,
to have a good running car, but let's be honest. You got to your destination because you drove the car. The car did not drive you. So
yeah,
I always tell people that's my little analogy of the whole situation. You still got it. You're still driving. But yeah, you do need to make sure you do a full spec like you did. You said, okay, I sprayed my nose, I took my decongestant, I did all these little things to kind of help prepare myself to drive my body and mind to my destination. And that's why I always tell people, let's not get it twisted. I'm not saying nasal spray doesn't ever work or decongestants never ever work. I'm saying if you're expecting those things to drive you, like if you got in your car and said, all right, let's go. Drive me to
yeah,
drive me to wherever I need to go. The car is gonna just sit there. So that's kind of like my little example of telling people, um, it's not. I'm not knocking those things because there are situations where that's the. I used to take nasal spray. I used to take decongestants. I used to take prednisone. I used to take steroidal inflammatory medication. I used
yep,
to take all these things, and I thought if I took them, I could chill a little bit and just like, all right, I take these things and I could just go about my day. But I realized I needed to put more mental work in
yeah,
than any of those things would ever do for me. So that's why I want to tell the audience, your audience, my audience, whoever is listening, look, you can take all those things all you want, or you can do all the specs on the car all you want. But until you get in and drive yourself to healing or drive yourself somewhere, you're going to kind of suffer a little bit, and like I said, you're going to kind of suffer in the background. So I think that was a good point you made right now. You said it was my mind, it was the mental aspect, A lot of that is not being clear coded. It's not being clear put out there as a resource. It's not being told. I watched a couple of those doctor videos too, just because I wanted to compare. I have actually even met up with one of those doctors
Yeah.
that you probably have seen. There's one on there particular named Dr. Alan Mandel, motivational doc. He's really big on YouTube. He's got like 7 million subscribers. He's a bald-headed doctor. You've probably seen him. He's in the thumbnails talking about ETD.
Hold on. I'm actually looking this up right now on YouTube, right? Because you said he's bald. I swear. Hold on. Dr. Alan Mandel. ETD. Let's see.
He's all over the place.
All right. Let me tell you something. And this is nothing against this guy at all. But I have seen a lot of his videos. He looks like a very nice guy. But every time I got so angry looking up ETD stuff because I would always see him and I would think to myself, damn, none of this actually ever worked for me. And I always see this guy. He has shorts, full videos, and I'm still watching him, right? And I'm sure that his videos have helped people, but damn, it wasn't helping me. But I always remember this guy.
Dr.
It's
Alan
funny.
Mandel.
It's funny.
Yeah, I'm telling you, he's like I said, he's huge on YouTube. He's got 7 million subscribers now. I actually looked up his video. You're gonna be surprised. I actually streamed with him once.
Okay.
We did a live stream, and I talked to him about it, and I said, yeah, I actually based my whole channel off ETD, and we went through the whole thing. This is probably about 3 years ago, and I talked to him about it, and he said, oh yeah, I used to have that, and he goes, start talking to his viewers. He's like, for all of you out there that do not know what he's talking about, ETD is a condition. He's going over the whole thing, and but in the back of my head, I was like, you know what, your video. I watched his video as well when I had it, but I think it's funny to say this now in retrospect. His video actually inspired me to go make my own video. I'm suffering. Let me kid you not. I'm suffering with it. And I'm watching his video and I'm picking it apart. Not picking it apart. That's a bad way to say it. He helped me to understand it. Like he tells you what it is. Like he tells you why, you know what I mean? But then it's like, okay, now there's a lot of other pieces though. There's a lot of blank spots still. So I ended up saying, okay, he told me what it is. I know what it is. But now what do I do with that? And so I went and started making my own video. And that's when I made that first one. I made that first ET video. And then I moved on, started making other content. And then everybody kept coming back to that video. And I was like, man, I just made that off of what I felt. It's like storytelling. It's really, I just story. And so, yeah, that's when the bold basis of, I haven't gotten around to the point where I'm going to name myself after this condition or my channel after or anything like that. But I do make that the basis of the channel. But yeah, you went through the exact, you had similar courses of the same thing I had, really. I mean, you kept going, you didn't give up. You did like I did. You cried sometimes like I did. I sat in the car. The car was my friend for those 3 years. I did a lot of car sitting by myself because I thought nobody would understand this thing anyway. So why even go over it, with people? Because people are not going to understand. They're just going to say, man, it's just an ear condition, man. Go get a Q-tip and call it a night or whatever. Or the word you hear is man up, you hear that all the time. It's like, man, it's more than just manning up. So
it was so bad that I felt happier to be asleep than be awake.
Oh yeah.
So when bedtime came around, that was the most exciting time. When you could feel like it was time to wake up, you're like, oh, here we go again. Like, all right. So I was just like, man, I couldn't be excited for anything. No, I had so much to live for this year, and it's just all gone. Like, I can't say it's all gone because I got a couple more months left, but like, I honestly feel like, because this was going through my birthday too, so I aged up and I'm still going through it. Like a whole year of life gone. And I don't know. I feel like the older you get, the more you realize how precious time is, because you can make all the money in the world you want, but you can never buy time at all. Unless there's some scientific stuff going on where we can increase our own life and no, you're kind of cooked. So losing that year is just like, I cannot believe this. Like, this sucks so bad. I was streaming. I remember like my content. I was streaming so much less. I was streaming not long. Sometimes it was acting up on the stream, and I had to either pretend it was okay, or I had to tell people like,
Yes.
this is happening, this is how I feel. And like, I don't know, yo, it kind of ruins the atmosphere and the vibe of the stream, because you're supposed to be like an entertainer. So when the entertainment is not happening, people are gonna go do something else. So
absolutely,
it kind of gets to you, right? And I was like, damn, this thing is invading every like area of my life. Because I was thinking like, okay, what if I had like chronic leg pain or something, or like, I don't know, I could fly no problem, right? Why did this have to be something where I have to fly? And then I started like blaming the human design. Like, why do we have this? Like, why is this a thing? Why is it that if we go high, our body starts to mess up? And okay, yeah, I get the science and I understand and blah, blah, blah. But at some point when I was going to these doctor visits, I felt like I knew more than them, because they were ready to break down Eustachian Tube Dysfunction, and they're already surprised that you even know what it's called.
What it is called. Yeah, I was telling them everything about the muscles. I was like, my tensor tympani muscle, my masseter muscle. They're like, they're giving me these like off stare looks, and I was like, they were like, wait a minute, what do you know? How do you know about the tensor tympani muscle? And I'm like, hey, look, when you go through something for 3 years, or even 8 months or a year, close to a year, or whatever, you're gonna be so sharp in that, because you're just studying, and you're putting stuff in data, you're pulling data from that, putting it in your head. And not only that, you're trying it out and you're learning. I was learning all the medication names. I was learning all the surrounding muscle and tissue. Literally, when I'm talking in my videos, some people might say, oh, he might be reading a script. No, I am literally telling you everything I just studied. You would think I was in a medical school, the way I could sit there and tell and talk about the muscle and tissue. Actually, when I messaged you earlier, I was an hour early. I actually was like, you know what? I'm going to do a video while I'm sitting here. I'm already set up. I'm just going to sit here and do a video and talk just recap some things that I've already talked about, but recap it in a different way. And I actually did a video while I was waiting for our stream today. And so, yeah, I mean, it comes so natural, and people that stumble across, what we are going through, what we dealt with. Mm-hmm. I actually had two girls message me. One wanted to work for me, and I was like, well, I'm not there yet. I'm just talking, I'm just discussing it. And one other girl is monitoring a page that I have for it. So you realize that it's so deep into people's lives that they're willing to do whatever it takes to get back to themselves or help others get back to themselves. You sympathize. It's almost, I don't want to put it up there with the C word, but it's on a similar level where it's like when you get through it, you feel like, man, that was rough, dude. Like I need to do something now about it. Like when I got over it, like you said, it was what women describe it with labor. And you almost forget. You don't forget, but it's so minimized dramatically. It's like gradually going down, and the symptoms slowly come down. And then one day you just start, like you said, you used a good term, by the way. You said it kind of goes to the next, the back seat. You put it on the back seat. I look at it like a giant bus, it keeps going to the next seat behind, the next seat behind, the next seat. And then once it's way in the back where the back tires are, you're in the front driver's seat. You don't hear what's going on back there anymore. Correct. You're so busy driving that bus now, you don't care what the engine sounds, and you don't whatever. So that's kind of what it does. And once it's finally at the end of the bus, the way in the back where you don't hear it anymore, it might still be there, but it's so far back it don't bother you anymore.
That's how I feel too, man. I feel
that's how you are.
I think it will always be a part of me. I think it will always be there to some degree. But I think with the experience that I've went through, I control it. Like I have control over it now. And if it ever did come back in like that severe way, I at least have now 8 months of experience to know, like, okay, I know what to do, right? And if it somehow overcomes that, everything that I've built up to this point, then with time, I'll figure out how to beat it again,
Absolutely.
But something, at least I think with mental things, like if something it's like a product of a mental thing, I feel like it never is as bad as it was the first time because of everything that you've built up to this point. And I mean, that's why I'm kind of doing this live stream with you, right? Because my channel is not based around health at all. My channel is based around me talking trash and beating people in video games. That's what my channel is about. Maybe
Yes.
sometimes I'll go off the rails and talk about some other stuff, but mostly it's probably me trash talking, and people like that. But
Yeah.
for something like this, it's a lot different because I don't know. I feel like I now owe it to other people as well to like show them like, hey, someone else is going through this. Not only that, like, since I'm a professional gamer, like, really, people, I don't know, like, when you have some sort of, I'm not a celebrity by any means, but when you have some sort of platform, I think people don't realize, like, at the end of the day, you are skin, bones, and blood just like them. So you are also susceptible to the horrors of life, like, you know, medically wise, right? So to see someone, like, maybe if someone looks up to you or they respect you or something, like, oh, wow, like, I would have never expected that. And the thing about with ETD is I looked it up. I think it said like 11 million people or 11 million cases or something like that. In the grand scheme of things of the human population, one, that's not a lot of people, and two, I have never heard of another person having ETD until I found your channel. Literally never. Not one person in my life that I know. Nobody. Nobody knows what it is. Couldn't explain it to my mom. Nobody knows. So I genuinely felt like, oh my God, I'm by myself. And then I found your channel. I'm like, oh my God, there's a second person at least. So there we go.
That meant what you just said. That's going to probably be a snippet that I play back somewhere, because what you just said, it's really like mind blowing. I mean, seriously, when I had it, I thought only people I had were doctors. That doesn't, I'm sorry, but that doesn't, let me just say doctors are needed. I'm not going to be here and say that doctors definitely needed. But when I had it, I only had doctors telling me stuff, you know, from in person and on the videos and Dr. Mandel and all these people. I couldn't find somebody, like you said, I couldn't find one person that had it, and it was storytelling. It's funny, I have this gal just created a ETD YouTube channel out of, and it's funny, and it's inspiring. It doesn't make me feel competitive or anything. It actually is inspiring. She literally was in my group. I have a Facebook group where I created. It's, you know, it's only about 900 people in there, which is, you know, still a good group to talk to people about it. She literally found the channel, and then she went and made her own channel, and she's talking about it like I am. And it's like, wow. So there are people with it, but no one really is taking that extra step, I think, maybe in going out into the public with it, I think. Or maybe they're just suffering too bad, they can't find the strength to do it. And so, or they got over it and they say, well, I'm a musician, I'm going to do that, whatever, which is fine. But when I got over it, I said, wait a minute, I can either make content about feel good things all the time, or I can make content about a real life situation and just, and have a complete personal connection with myself, with my channel. And so, yeah, I mean, what you went through when you said what you just said, you said you couldn't find one other person that was going through it. That to me, with 11 million people or so plus, that's mind blowing. That, I mean, because you type in, you type in the C word, or you type in, I don't know, diabetes or whatever. You type something, and you're gonna have channels dedicated to those conditions.
Yep.
You're gonna be just spilling with those channels. But I think this channel, like I told myself, I said, you know what, I can do one or two videos and then move on. But then I feel it's doing a disservice to the people that are needing it, because they kind of feel like the people that keep coming to my channel are people that are still dealing with it, obviously. And it's like watching a movie that you don't love. Or like you in gaming, you do multiple types of games. I'm sure you don't just stick to this one game. People enjoy that. They're like, I want to see I want to see that personality, you, in a different light of something else, in a different version, a different episode, you know? And so that's kind of why I've made my whole channel the way it is, because I feel like there's always something to talk about it. And so I can use my situation in different aspects, you know? I can use my situation in different. So what you just said, oh man, I am very, feel very honored to hear that, and also feel very appreciative that you said that, because that's my goal. I get the question all the time, how are you going to make this a living? Well, honestly, right now, that's not my main goal. I mean, yes, it's a goal to help and service people, on a way where I can do it full time.
You
But right
shouldn't feel
now,
guilty about that.
yeah,
Nobody should feel guilty
yeah,
about that.
yeah, and I'd feel good knowing people tell me, well, you should do something that's more attractive to people. Like you should go in comedy, or you should do what weightlifting videos, or do something else. Ah, look, those videos are out there. You can go find them. You know, there's tons of those out there. So yeah, that's mind blowing to hear that. But
If
I'm
your
glad that
channel didn't
yeah,
exist, I would probably still be going through it. I'm not gonna lie.
wow,
And that
that's
so
crazy.
being able to do something like that and have an impact, I mean,
Yeah,
that's like so the way that I think about life, especially because we don't live that long in the grand scheme of things, is
yep,
that if we're going to live a life, it would be really nice to do something where you leave an impact on the world after you're gone, right? Whether
right,
it be you achieve like an historical achievement or something like that, something that
right,
will be remembered by somebody, or they, since we have the internet, they can look it up and find out what was life
yep,
like back then, or who
yeah,
existed back then and what did they do. So sometimes when I look at certain content or things I do, that's what I kind of think about. Like I look at them as art pieces, funny enough. Like it's
oh
kind
yeah,
of, this is just how I work, right? So
yeah,
even past our time on the planet, let's say nobody else find, like someone 100 years down the line is suffering from
yeah,
this, right? And they find your video. That's really cool. You might be able to
yeah.
help someone, past, way past the time you ever made said video. That's how I look at
It's
things.
amazing. Oh, that's amazing the way you just said that. Yeah, that's exactly what, and that's more valuable than how trending the topic is. You like, the topic, I could do a video about migraines, or I could do a channel about, high blood pressure, and I'll probably be trending, but it's so skewed with so many different things. I mean, I feel like focus on something that's not there, and add it there.
Yeah.
Before I don't know, I'm just gonna throw something random, but before the screwdriver existed, or something like that. Something that's one and done. Nobody else is gonna do it again. It's it. That's how I feel. Is everybody talking about the purpose of using screwdrivers? Probably not. They're probably talking about other things. That's
Yeah.
fine. But you make a good point. Seriously, I mean, that's my purpose. And when you emailed me that night, I think it was, man, it was probably like I was doing some editing. It was probably early in the, like late, maybe after midnight or something. I was just sitting there brainstorming my next video. I said, man, I gotta respond. I was about to go to bed. I said, you know what? I'm responding to this message right now. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna draft out an email back to him, because he took time to write all of that, and get acquainted with me and whatnot. And yeah, honestly, I just said I gotta get that message out tonight before I go to sleep. And so when I got your message, I was like, yeah, because I don't want him thinking, it's how many times do you see where you reach out to people and crickets,
Yeah.
It's just, oh my God. I mean, it's like common now. You reach out to people and you don't hear anything back. And it's like, man, you could at least give me a two liner or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, I try to devote myself, even with, obviously my busy life with, recording and working and kids and things. I try to sit down. I think everybody can produce 5 minutes out of their day. Seriously. I mean, all walks of life, from the president down, or whoever, I feel like you can get 5 minutes of your time to someone else, or more. So yeah, that meant a lot that you definitely said that. And man, it's been great to just connect with you on the level of this, man.
Likewise.
This is deep. Yeah. And I
Actually,
good to see you pushing through all of the thoughts that you were going through. I mean, that says a lot about your character, man. It really does.
I was
It
fighting,
says a
man.
lot.
I was fighting. Even when it looked like I was down bad on the ground, I was still fighting. I'll tell you that. I just felt like
Still fighting.
I can't I can't lose to this. I have so much, like no way.
Yes.
Like even my job is like really, really, really important to me. So I just I had to find a way.
Yeah.
And honestly, this led me to feeling guilty a lot of the times, you know, about not being able to be how I was before with most people,
Right.
or just in general. Like, actually, I felt guilty about ETD because there are people going through literal hell. I don't even have to
Yeah.
name those conditions. You know what I'm talking about.
You know,
Chat,
yeah,
you
we
guys know what I'm
know.
talking about too. There are some people out there that are really suffering badly. In fact, there's a streamer that I would lurk in their chat. She was entertaining, pretty good at the game she played. And, you know, one day I noticed her hair was gone, right? And immediately, you know, it registered, I know what's going on. And she spoke
Oh,
about what's going on. And it's just so crazy from 1 week, everything's normal to bam, here we are now. It can happen in the snap
crazy.
of a finger. So I'm going through what I'm going through, but someone has it so much worse than I do, to the point where they
Right.
would probably, like, if they would probably be fine with dealing with what I'm dealing with. But then I
Yeah.
also have to come to terms with, like, just because someone has it worse, you can't just downplay what you're going through.
Correct.
Everybody can suffer in a way that's unique to them, or at the same time, like, it's not a competition, you know? And I wasn't making it
Right.
a competition. I just felt bad that I was so fixated on this thing that I couldn't pinpoint how to fix, when there are
Yeah.
other people in the world that are really hurt, whether it be medically, financially, maybe they come from a place that's dangerous. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I sometimes felt really guilty about my ETD in general.
Yeah. Me too. I felt bad that it yeah, I mean I also think about all the stuff I canceled, man, on people. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, I think you, again, I mean what I said. I think you're handling it with more transparency than I did. You know, I was trying to be this person that didn't have any weakness, you know, with my health. That was the old me, you know, that was the 10-year ago me, where I felt that the slightest image of me struggling medically or health wise is a disservice to them and my strength. And I realized that because I'm strong because of what I talked about with my issues with medical stuff and things like that. I was trying to be this guy that didn't have any medical problems, any condition problems, and all that. I was like, that's what I thought everybody wanted. They
Yeah.
wanted that Superman. But even him, he has issues too. You know, so I just think that when, as you age, as you, like you said, you started to think about, oh man, oh, I'm only here for so long, and you were transparent about all of these things. And I think that's where I struggle. When I tell people 3 years, I said, do not get that twisted though. Those 3 years were not 3 educated years.
Yeah.
Those are, I would say, those were two and a half, 2 to 3 quarters of non-educated years. I didn't get smart till that last 25% of the time, you know, and so less than that. And so yeah, I tell people 3 years, but I say disclaimer, 3 years. The other years were not making smart choices and not being more open about it and things like that. And I think for you to do that from the gate,
Yeah.
to make it a known thing, to be discovering what to do, what not to do. I don't see you even having even close to what I was, you know, the nonsense that I put myself through. I mean, I was still doing things. I have an issue with coffee. I've kind of talked about that.
Yeah.
Caffeine. And I just was like, oh, I'm just gonna keep drinking this stuff. Everybody else is doing it. So, or you know, it tasted good, don't get me wrong, but I would drink that and start having ear issues. I'll start feeling all discombobulated and my equilibrium would be off, and it would be immediately after consuming that stuff. Again, it was just like I would go into work, I smell that coffee going off in the office in the break room. Go, what did I do? Go right in there and go pour myself a big cup of coffee. Screw myself over, and I told myself, man, if I was smart, you know, I'd say, man, that stuff was dehydrating me. It was making me all jittery and giddy and all of this
I
crap. And
stopped drinking not coffee. I don't drink coffee. I stopped drinking soda because of your videos. Actually,
there we go.
beforehand, I cut soda out of my life maybe 3 months into this. So maybe like
Yeah,
April-ish, I just stopped
yeah,
entirely. And honestly, I don't plan
man,
on going back because, like, yeah, soda, I think soda's really addictive. I'm not gonna lie. It's really
yeah,
addictive. It's hard to stop. So now that I've stopped, I'm not going back. I think I had like a cream soda the other day, and I said I'm gonna drink
yeah.
this one. I'm done, and I stuck to it. There's no point. No point at all.
People don't realize being addicted to something and drinking something every now and then just because of the convenience of it being there is totally two different things. I had a coffee. I want to say about 5-6 months ago, but it was like a small
Like a
little
little bit.
amount of coffee. And it's like when I say I quit coffee, when I mean quit, I mean I'm not rushing to go get it, or I'm not trying to rearrange my day to go get it. If it's sitting right there, like, if someone has it sitting there, and I'm like, try a little bit. Okay, that's good. That's taste. That's good. But it was worse. It was like rearranging my whole everything to get to it. And I realized after it was over, I was starting to suffer the symptoms. Told myself, man, if I had done this from the gate, stop it, be clean off of this stuff. Yeah, it wouldn't have been 3 years. And I tell people that it wouldn't have been 3 years. I say 3 years, but I also say disclaimer, 3 years was not smart 3 years. It was learning, but not doing the right thing. So yeah, definitely something to remember for sure.
Do you know what this is?
What is it? Oh, I don't see it. Where is it?
On the camera. Oh, wait, here you go.
Yeah. Scoot it back that looks like okay. Is that like I'm not sure what the heck that thing is.
It's
Is
an
that
ear
nasal
popper.
spray? What is that?
Ear popper.
Ear popper. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it looks a
I've
little
seen
weird
that.
in the camera. It's very small. But I
Yeah.
had this thing for months now. I got it in April. Yeah. And I would use it. You
wow.
plug it into your nose. It's supposed to pop. Blah blah blah.
I had one similar to that. It wasn't like that one. It was a Eustachian.
Eustachian. That's the one with the blue tip.
The blue tip. You put it there, and the air comes out.
Yep.
I spent like what?
Literal
That thing's
same
expensive.
device. Same device.
Oh man.
I would use that.
Yeah, I had it on.
And I'd be wondering, like, okay, so is this supposed to work? Like, when is it going to work?
Yeah.
I'd feel like a little pop, but like, it was nothing to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm better now, But
Yeah.
man, like, I don't know. I have it on my desk as a memory at this point. It just sits there.
Yep.
It's
That's
literally
what
just sitting there. I don't use it anymore or anything. It's crazy that like a journey like this, because like you're talking about how you had to quit caffeine, and I'm just like,
oh yeah,
the things that I changed because of this simply were, not drinking soda as much, and I didn't have any evidence that soda was partaking in like the effects of this, but at the end of the day, it's just like it's already trash for you, no matter how tasty it is. Just cut it. So I just drink a ton of water, juice every now and then. I started to eat fruits more. And something also from your channel, what's the name of this drink? Is kombucha?
Kombucha.
I started buying those, and I'm not gonna lie, man. The first sip I took of that, I was like, "Oh, this is disgusting." But it actually like grew on me a bit, and I started to like it. I started drinking those, and I bought the red light, the infrared. Yep, I bought that. I bought it, and I was starting to use it during last month. I was starting to use it a bit. Couldn't tell how well that was working on me, but it did feel good.
It does feel. That's the key. I tell people, it makes you feel good, and that's the misconception I think of people. When I tell people, I say, like when you take an ibuprofen, obviously it blocks out the signals of the pain signals to the brain.
Yeah,
it blocks it out, so you don't actually feel the pain, but it's pain still going on. It's similar to that. It's not saying that it's a placebo, but it's saying that if it makes you feel good, most likely you're in need to feel good. That's the problem. That's the whole thing is we're trying to find that thing that just knock it out with a hammer. And it's like, you need a bunch of things that make you feel good in unison. So then mentally you can start preparing to start healing.
Yeah.
And then you accept healing. And it's definitely,
I don't think there's anything that actually knocks it out. Like this one thing is going to make this disappear. It felt like it was a collection of all these things that I talked about that combined into one. Well, honestly, the most important thing at the end of the day was just having control of my mind to be able to do it. I think, honestly, getting on the plane helped. Like, that was the last straw. Like, to face the direct fear and just overcome it, I think that was the thing that actually pushed it past the point where it's just like, okay, I'm good now. Like,
I can do this.
If this didn't trigger it, I'm good. And I think the roller coasters actually played a role in that too, because it's like, you know, elevation, speed, et cetera, et cetera. It's just like, this should be a recipe for disaster. But because nothing happened, it was like, okay, if nothing happened here, let's try the plane now. The big dog.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You just widen the spectrum, and that's what I tell my son. My son learned about 5 months ago how to ride a bike. He was scared to fall off and hurt himself. I said, well, fall off a couple times. You realize it ain't really that bad. Get back on. And now the fear of falling is in the background. So that way the learning process of the brain can take over and teach you what it is it needs to teach you. And that's what this is all about. There isn't one thing that comes in and knocks it out. It's putting it so far back that it becomes irrelevant.
Got it.
And so that's the whole thing. When people say, "Oh," when I say I've healed myself from Eustachian Tube, people say this guy is a phony. He's just trying to pound some people that are weak. Maybe I've heard them all. I never said that I found something that healed me. I was able to move the focal point so far back that now I can concentrate on my life, and it's not there. It's not.
Yeah.
It's so far back it's non-existent. So, yeah, I definitely, man, it's been a journey, and it's been good to hear other people's journey. I've gotten some people tell me good things back. I'm better now. I feel great. Those are always the good ones to get. Of course, you get the other ones that that say I'm still struggling. But yeah, it's a roller coaster. No pun intended. And I'm just ready to keep going on it with others.
Same.
So, it's amazing.
When this goes up on your channel, I'll actually take it and post the link on Reddit, because I entered a Reddit thread talking about this, like trying to see, because there's Reddit threads where a lot of other people are talking about this. So I want them to, like, here's a video, here's my story. Because I literally posted on Reddit maybe a week ago asking for help. So yeah, I could show them this conversation, and maybe, I don't know, maybe I help someone, maybe I give someone a different perspective.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, Reddit is where I learned about TMJ, and I went to the dentist to check for that, and I didn't have it. So yeah,
good. That's good, at least.
But
yeah, I'm gonna work as soon as you send it over. I'll definitely pop it on there, and yeah, it'll be good to share this with everybody. Share it with people that, man, to hear your story is really amazing too. By the way, all what you've overcome. There's so many people that are in that position. They only hear me talking though. They're like hearing me talk about it, and they're like, it helps. But man, to hear your voice on here about it, wow. I mean, just imagine what that's going to do for everybody.
Yeah, thank you, man. And thank you for your time too. I really appreciate this conversation. Let's keep in touch.